Hello, everyone. Nice to see you today. Thank you for joining us. Today's webinar is Happy Birthday to Dynamics GP. And we have special guest Brittany Prepinetsky to join us for some tips and tricks on Dynamics GP, what's new in 2026, and talk to you through a number of great insights that she's built over the last decade. We'll say a few years.
Let's say a few years. I don't know if I can handle the decade term yet. It'll make me feel old.
Everyone, you will notice some new branding. So Endeavor Solutions, we are rebranding into Endeavor 4. Same great company, just a broader and wider mandate. And obviously our GP Support North is still here and dedicated to our 650 GP clients. Our agenda, we'll do a quick birthday. We'll look at the roadmap, life beyond the end of life, and then into Brittany for a live demo and commentary, some of the what's new in GP 2026. We'll have a little wrap up and talk about the GP revolution and a few other action items from a sales and marketing perspective. So thank you very much, everyone. I appreciate your time today. And for those watching recording, give us a call. Let's talk. Welcome. Just a quick on to the logos. Endeavor is now Endeavor 4. GP Support North is still GP Support North. This is just reflecting our continued North American expansion. We have a lot of peers and consultants across the US as well as Canada, and they're all here to support you coast to coast. We have 5 time zones: Atlantic Canada, Eastern, Central, Mountain, and Pacific. We're all here to support you and continuing to grow our team to make sure you can get the most out of your business applications. So, happy birthday, Dynamics GP. I asked Brittany if we could sing. She said no, so you'll have to hum it along in your head. GP is now 33 years young. Originally released as Great Plains back in February 1993. I think it was on a floppy disk back then, then into CD-ROMs, and into today's mature, strong ERP system. This is a classic Terminator quote: "I'm old, I'm not obsolete." Well seasoned, as some say. As a mature system, Dynamics GP really checks a lot of the boxes. There are some benefits of the newer cloud-based software, but obviously a cost and effort to make those changes and migrations. Let's look at the roadmap and figure out what are we looking at. So GP end of life, as announced by Microsoft, is December 31st, 2029. So we have basically 4 years to go, all of this year, plus up to the end of 2029. Then there are extended security to 2031. The extended security patches, we're not quite sure what that is. I'm not sure if Microsoft knows what it is, but it will not include payroll and some major updates, compatibility, etc., etc. Along those lines, we did want to talk about what is life beyond Dynamics GP for that end of life. Our team at GP Support North, Endeavor 4, GP, we're still here. We made a 10-year pledge. We have a variety of support plans. We are dedicated and continuing to expand our team, our knowledge, and work with you to keep GP running as long as possible. We do have migrations and a very strong Business Central team for those that do want to stay with Microsoft and move up to the cloud. There is proprietary tools, knowledge, experience that we have, as well as some tools from Microsoft. And you'll see a little term here of the GP revolution. We'll be talking that towards the end of today's webinar. But basically, the foundation of trying to create a group that is going to support you after the 2029 end of life. With the expansion of SQL Server 2025, just got launched about a month or so ago, as well as SQL Server 2025. Both of those are good for 10 years. They have a 5-year base support which is mainstream, and then 5 years of extended support, which gives you 10 years. SQL Server comes out every 2 to 3 years. The last one was 3 years ago for SQL Server 2023. No, SQL Server 2022 that was launched in 2023. We're on SQL Server 2025. If you do your GP upgrades now, the new version of Dynamics GP 2026, also known as 18.8, supports SQL Server 2025 and Windows Server 2025. In another 3 years, just before in that 2029 range, there may be another version as well. These allow for your infrastructure, which is one of the key aspects of keeping GP running, to be able to support you. There are some private cloud options and other abilities to use and hammer down and tighten up security and infrastructure, and we can talk about those offline. What we wanted to get to now is, Brittany. Brittany, thank you so much for joining us today. This is basically your slide. She's going to go through, why don't you introduce yourself, take it from here and tell us how you want to entertain us, edutainment, and
Well, you make me sound like Miss
thank you.
Rachel, and I don't know if I can handle that. But it's great to see some familiar faces. It's great to see some faces I don't know as well. If you don't know me, my name is Brittany. I've been at Endeavor a little over 11 years. Fun fact, I started in GP version 6. Please don't do the mental math on how long I've been doing GP for those of us that know. I have done a little bit of everything on the GP side, from support to implementations to development to, my God, I can't get this AP entry in. It's driving me crazy. I have done a little bit of everything across the board. And I was really excited when Scott asked me if I wanted to do this today, because I love doing a little bit of tips and tricks and getting to know the users and what is kind of giving them some hardship in there, and share some of my own struggles that sometimes we have inside of GP. As Scott's showing, I will be going through a little bit of all of the modules today, but not the extended modules, so we won't be touching field service or manufacturing, but we are going to touch almost all of the core today, being financial, banking, workflow, posting, and AP and AR. I will open it up to questions at the end, so if you have any questions or I said something, you want to know some more, please feel free to reach out as well. We always have our support desk. If there are any questions, you can come back and find me and a lot of my friends on the support desk as well. We have a long tenured history of GP on our support desk, and we are generally really excited to answer GP questions over there. And Scott will share that contact information at the end. But let's get into the exciting part. Sorry, Scott. We're going to talk about GP because, it's more exciting.
That's why we're here. So share your screen. I can see it perfect. That was the smoothest transition ever.
Well, if only that worked for all of my Teams calls. But anyways, moving forward, for those of you who've never seen GP, I'm sure you have, but this is GP. I'm sure it's the most beautiful thing you've seen today. If not, guess what? I am going to be covering a little bit, as I said, of everything in the core today, but I'm not just covering the new features today from GP 18.8, although that is the version I'm in today. So I will show you I am in 18.8 today. And if you ever get asked, what is your version? It's up in this little blue circle with the white question mark up here in the top right. Often if you are kind of interacting with their support team or you're trying to figure out your next upgrade, they will automatically come in here and ask you, what is your version? If your window looks slightly different than mine, that might be very much true, because you might actually have some additional things installed here, what we call ISVs. Those could be like our Nolans, our E1s, and there are a vast variety that we do support here at Endeavor. And of course, that is on our Support North website, and another one as well, I believe, that we have all of our ISVs there if you're looking for some additional information, but you will see that in your additional window as well. On a side note, while we're talking about versions, I wanted to make this known. Although this has been in GP since its beginning, lots of times people don't realize that there's this registration window underneath administration, and you might say to me, register for what? That's a great question. And what it does show you is that it will have a bunch of boxes in here that'll show you what you have currently turned on and off. I have no boxes because I have absolutely everything turned on, so I have not turned anything off. You might say, what is the reason for this? As you know, GP's been around for 33 decades. It used to be sold a la carte, so you used to turn options on and off. Microsoft has since changed that in its iterations of its pricing plans over the years. But if you ever see something, you say, why can't I see it? Check your registration window first to make sure you have it turned on. It is probably a core functionality that you don't have turned on. And of course, if you can't see it, come on and talk to us. We'll help you out. But let's talk about some fun features. I first want to talk about inside of our financial and something that drove me crazy for years. And I want to show it now. And it's actually inside of our journal entries. For the longest time in GP, we couldn't see who posted it. Or we could because it was in the tables, but you'd have to build a custom view. They put it right out in there for you in the journal entry inquiry window, which has been my greatest gift and sometimes my greatest cuss word because I say, who would post an entry like that? And then I go look at it and it was me. Also can be fun. This information, though, is not just in this inquiry window. It does also exist inside of SmartList, or if you're using SmartView, it does exist inside of your account transactions as well. You will see that that is a column. You can add it as your user who posted inside of here. So you will have that inside of there. Now, if in account transactions, it will show you unposted and posted transaction if you have that turned on. So if there is a blank user who posted, it's not a ghost. It just means it's not posted yet. Don't panic yet. But since we're an oldie but goodie, I'm going to share this trick here because it's always fun. In your columns, if you don't see all the columns you want to add, hit this available columns and flip to all columns. That's going to show you every single column that is available at the table and or view you have this smart list pointed at. And while we're talking about columns and account transactions, a lot of times people don't know, and it's life-changing, is see these originating fields here, originating master name, originating source, master ID, originating doc number. These are really handy if these transactions are coming in from purchasing or sales. And I'm going to show you why here. Because we see the transactions coming in, but you can see the original master ID and master name. This is either customer or vendor, obviously depending on which series it's coming from, whether that's sales or purchasing. And the original doc number. This is the invoice number, the payment number, the cash receipt number, so on and so on. You get the idea here. This is an oldie but goodie trick. We can put this inside of your smart list in your account transactions to help you out if you're doing some of those GL reconciliations, which I always thought was super handy. But while we're talking about reconciliations, because I know we all have so much fun doing them, let's talk about bank recs. We've all gotten used to knowing and loving that doc attach. And if you haven't used doc attach yet, stick around. I'm going to show you what it can do. But previously, we couldn't attach a document to our bank reconciliations. And this is a little bit of a pet peeve of mine because we usually have some working documents around our bank reconciliations and we want to go back and reference what those working papers were or whatever the case may be. We now have inside the sticky note, we now have the doc attachment inside of there. So in our true thing, we can attach almost any document inside of here. So I can go and I can attach, a sample, hit open. Here's my text file. Now this could be a text file, could be a PDF, could be Excel, doesn't matter. And unlike the previous day, this is not saving a hyperlink. It is actually embedding it into the database, so it will save along with this. For those of us who've been in a few versions of GP, we've gotten used to that document attachment window being inside of our sales transactions, POs, journal entries, but for the longest time it was missing in the reconcile bank statement window, which I think is one of the most important windows to actually have a document attachment in there. For those of us who don't have document attachment turned on and you're going, why can't I see those? I'm just going to show you another window where you would see document attach. And it's very often we see it in our sales transaction entry and you see it as this paperclip. However, if you don't see it on your windows as a paperclip, it might be because you don't have it turned on. And as a quick detour here, I'm just going to show you where we turn that on. It's actually under Tools, Setup, Company, Doc Attachment Setup. And we have to allow document attachments to be able to do this. You will notice there are some additional settings in here, and if you'd like some help setting them up, please feel free to contact us. We are more than happy to help you with this one. But document attachment actually came out in, I believe, GP 2013, and they have continually added it to more windows as user recommendations have come into Microsoft. So I love that they put it in the bank rec window because I think it has been missing there for a long time. All right, for those of us that are using Mass Modify, and if we're not, I'm going to tell you what Mass Modify is. It is in our financial and it's under our cards. And this is a function that has been around in GP for a long time, but we've added some additional functionality. And Mass Modify allows us to en masse inactivate GL accounts, delete them if they've had no transactional history. Let's be real specific with that one. Inactivate them or update them. Those were all of our previous options. I'm just going to quickly show a copy one. If you're using a copy, this is very handy if you're adding in another line of business or another department or something like this, because we can say I want to go from this account to this account, and I want to mask my last segment, and we're going to make it O2. It will copy all of those accounts with the masking of O2. So you can mass create some lines of business or departments, depending how your account segment structure is set up. But when you do the copy, it copies identical for the account. So it copies the description, and of course it counts the account number except for the segment you are masking, but it will copy the posting type, the typical balance, the currencies, all that great stuff. However, it never updated the account descriptions, and now we have added that new feature in here to update account descriptions. So if the account descriptions get updated from your segment namings, so if your last segment is department ops admin and ops admin is new to you, you can add that in here for your update account description, which is super helpful, especially if you're doing those. But while we're talking about mass creating GLs, because maybe we did accumulate a new department or whatever the case may be, you might say, great, it copied all of them except for the currency. So if you remember, I said it does everything except the currency. We do have a currency account update where we can mass update our currencies. Let me grab some accounts here for you. Let me insert them. So we can update our currencies to update all of our currencies, select currencies, and we can update that revalue options as well. Now, reval, although has been in GP for a few decades, I may have started my career in doing multi-currency, is there are a few options in revaluation, and if you ever need some deeper understanding about how revaluation works inside of GP, or maybe you're getting some funny results, please feel free to come and contact us, because there's realized gain and loss and unrealized gain and loss in GP. The revaluation routines inside of GP are accounting for the unrealized gain and loss. Realized gain and loss happens in real time with the application of payments against invoices and credits against invoices as well. But if you would like a deeper understanding, please come out and reach to us. It is a common conversation we have. There's no shame or blame in that one. It is great to understand it, because if you are using multi-currency to its extended capabilities, you need to have that deep understanding of what it's actually doing before it posts a massive entry to your control accounts. Okay.
Thanks, Brittany. That's great. Mm-hmm. And I love the ongoing, mentorship and guidance that we have with several of our clients who call in periodically just to be sharper and stay on their game.
Yeah. All right. Since we're done, since we've talked a lot about our GLs, let's talk about something a little bit more fun, but still to deal with our GLs a little bit. Let's go to our workflow. For those of us who are not using workflow, but maybe have some curiosity about what workflow is, workflow has been continuously updated throughout the recent versions of GP. Workflow originally came out in GP 2013, and they have continually added to it as we've gone through our versions. The latest and greatest update that they have added in here is inside of our batch approvals. I'm just going to go into one here. We can now tell it to automatically post when the workflow is completed. And this might sound like a terrifying step, but hear me out here. So if you have a workflow that is going through and getting approvals, let's say if a journal entry is more than $10,000 or to a certain account range, it needs to have one approver or two approvers, or maybe it has multiple stages. Once it works its way all the way through it, it will automatically post it. Now, posting logic in GP at its core will remain. Things like it will not post if it is outside of a fiscal period that is open. It won't post if the account is inactive. It won't it does still do its business logic, and it will continue to do that when it does posting. This is not just in the financial workflow maintenance. It is in our other ones as well. You will see that we have a purchasing batch as well, where we can put that in here. We do have an automatically post, and we have it on sales as well. So I'm just going to come on in here and show you what we have in here. We have automatically post one in here. And as well, workflow is not just for your transactions. Workflow can be for your master records as well. This can give you that auditability and help us with making sure we have those audit controls in there for things like creating new GLs. So if you need to create new GLs, maybe we need to have some approval on there to make sure someone's not just mass creating GLs. On the purchasing side, we have it on the vendor's approval as well. This can be really handy just to ensure that we are maybe not paying someone we shouldn't, or we have a second set of eyes that are coming on if there are any vendor changes happening. Now, one thing to note about vendor workflow, lots of us are doing many EFTs. And of course, EFTs contain sensitive information like vendors' account numbers, routing, branch information, all that kind of good stuff. Now, when you have workflow, it's any changes that is done to the vendor. It will not track any changes what happened inside the actual EFT information. Like if I change the account number from one to the other. Note it will just ask us to approve the changes that come through. If you need that tracking, especially for EFT that is very sensitive, please feel free to reach out to us. We do have some options handy to help us out with that one to make sure we track the changes of from and to inside of our EFT. Okay. Now, while we're in setup, oldie but goodie, but we've made some changes, is our posting setup, which is underneath posting and posting. Now, I'm going to give out a fair warning. Don't go into posting setup lightly. It does control a lot of things. So I would be amiss if I did it to you blindly and said, just go on in there. I'm actually going to pick on I'm going to pick on sales actually. And a side note, don't ever use all. Please always go into the specific transaction. It will save you some heartache. And I actually want to talk about our invoice entry. And you will notice some of the changes that happened in here is that we allow transaction posting. And if you say, what is transaction posting? That is a great question. And transaction posting is when we're in a window like transaction entry and we can post outside of a batch. Now, not everyone allows posting outside of a batch, but if you are, you might have noticed that when you post from outside of a batch, it sticks in your GL journal entry batches, and it comes in with something like PMTRX, RMTRX, RMCCHS, which are all the audit trail codes, and it stops at the GL waiting for another user to come in and manually post it. That's great if that is a step in your audit or maybe to give you some segregation of duty. However, if that step is driving you crazy, it allows you to now post through the general ledger file. So when you hit post now, it will go all the way through and it won't stop at the GL, which can be super handy. Now, don't ever touch, side note for a warning here, don't ever touch the post to general ledger. This is a setting that has been there for a long time, but this is what says create a journal entry or don't create a journal entry when I post an invoice, a payables transaction. Always leave this turned on. I say that nicely, but with some impact behind that one. Post through the general ledger files. This just means, do you want it to stop at the GL and have additional posting or not? Okay. Now, if we talk about inside of purchasing, one other part that has changed inside of here You'll notice that you have the post through and post through general ledger for allowed transaction. But we still have, if you were looking for batch approvals, maybe not as in-depth as workflow, but a little something, we still have a required batch approval, which is an oldie, but a goodie, and it continues to work quite nicely, might I add. All right, so those are our posting setups. Be very careful when you're in there. Don't take it lightly, but it can be helpful. As well, if some of your posting reports are driving you crazy and you hit cancel 5 times and you're not looking to get carpal tunnel syndrome by hitting cancel so many times, you can turn them off inside this window. You will see if I change each one of these, I can turn these off or on, or just have them ask or go straight to screen, depending if you want. Now, one thing I do want to mention is all of your posting reports are able to be reprinted inside of GP. So if you don't want to see them, you just want to pull them back up. If audit asks you or you need to go back to troubleshoot, you can. That is always an option inside of GP. Okay. And while we're talking about reports to be reprinted, let's hop into AP, because one of my newest favorite ones that have come in, and I'm going to be honest, I've had a few words about this in my time doing this, is inside of our posting journals. Previously, if you were doing EFTs, you couldn't reprint that EFT payment register. You now have the ability to reprint that payment register for yourself, which is super handy if you are using it for approvals. One thing I just want to kind of give you a warning of is make sure to give it a range, because if you have posted many EFT batches in your time, that report will be everything from the dawn of time. Make sure to put in some sort of range in here by posted date, audit trail code, batch ID. I'm a lover of posted ID because I will remember when I did it. I may not remember what I named it, but to each their own. Find what works for you inside of here. It is the same report you see when you actually hit post and you get that EFT generation report. So I'm super excited to say it is here. You can now reprint it, which is fantastic. While we're talking about paying vendors, let's talk about vendors. So if you are in the vendor cards and you're in your class ID, and I've been burned by this one a few times in my career, so I'm going to be the first one to admit it. If you make any changes in that vendor class setup, let's say to an account, let's say I change this to 2105. When I go and hit save, it automatically asks me if I want to roll down my changes. And what it means by do I want to roll down my changes is, do I want to update every vendor that is assigned to this class to have these specifications? And that's all of them. The tax schedule, the currency, the payments, the accounts, the whole thing. This used to always default to yes, and a lot of times users sometimes got caught by just quickly hitting yes. I love that it now defaults to no. It saves us a few going, oh boy, we changed a whole bunch of them and that's not actually what we wanted. So it now defaults to no to save, well, to save me from me, but I know it will save some other users as well. So I'm really excited about that one. I know it seems like not a lot, but it can save you many hours of heartache on that one. Now, for those of us who might be inside of our transaction entry here, if you are importing transactions, payables transactions from another system, you may have noticed that in your voucher number, specifically, if you ever used a special character like a tilde, an ampersand, a number sign, something like that, when you went to print your historical age trial balance, it errored out and it gave you an error like incorrect document type 6, and you go, what does that mean? It means it doesn't like the special character. They have updated that historical age trial balance so that you can have a special character inside of your voucher number. But while we're in this screen, although this came out 2 versions ago, I want to talk about this. You might notice that I have a long description enabled here. Previously, you only had this description, which wasn't a ton of characters, but it did give us some information. We now have this long description, and it is quite long now. If you are looking to turn this functionality on, it's a really easy setup and a nice one to give us some additional information in there. It's in our payables setup, and it's under here, enable long description for payables transaction entry. This did come out in 18.2. Very handy. It is fully visible inside of our smart lists, in many of our payables reports, and your SSRS reports if you are using those as well. So I love that part about this one. While we're in this window, I'm going to come back into this window here. You might notice that this remit to has changed slightly. And let's talk about that. Let's delete that transaction. So my remit to, if I put a remit to in here, it will now have this little blue expansion window. So if you're looking at a previous version of GP, you might notice you don't have a blue expansion arrow here. And that is because they have changed the functionality and added some fields to this table. So if you have any custom queries or additional information, do you have a long description? I will come back to you, Felicia. If you have any custom queries that are questioning the remit to address, then you're going to have to update those with the new fields as well. And essentially what it's doing is when I post this transaction, it stamps that address on the transaction, unlike previous version of GP where it put ship to or put our remit to address ID, but then it took whatever was currently updated. So if you had a change of address, you could not tell where you might have sent that check or that remittance information. And I'm going to show you how that actually looks inside of a vendor. So I'm going to pick on my ACE travel here. I'm actually just going to pick on invoices. So if you notice now when I post my March 2026, my remit to address was box 342 in Sydney, Australia. But if you look now, I have updated that remit to address. My remit to address is actually 123 Main Street. So it stamped it to that transaction so we can see that remit to address going forward. Okay, so it will be saved in there. And as I said, the remit to address will get updated on the PM 10,000, 20100 and PM 30200 to make sure that it has that information. So if you have custom views, make sure you go and update those with your remit to address. Okay. I feel like we've talked a lot about payables. I feel like we need to share the love, go to receivables a little bit. But one thing that I do want to say has both changed for payables and receivables as we transition into receivables here is in your payables setup. You might notice that you have allow summary posts for EFT and credit cards. This is very beneficial for your bank recs. If you are doing an EFT run and let's say you have 20 transactions inside of there, and when you do your bank rec, your bank pulls it out as one summed amount, not 20 lines of one for EFT. If you turn this on, it will do one summary post to your bank reconciliation for the 20 amount coming out, but it will keep all the details in our payable subledger and GL. Okay. Receivables has done something similar as well in their setup, is that we can, in our options, we can post a summary value of our cash receipts to the bank as well. So we get the kind of the same thing on the receivable side. But while we're talking about receivables, let's talk about statements. And not just because we're going to go ask people to say pay me or else. That's why they don't let me work in collections. But inside of our statements in our routines, they've added two new form types, being the multi-currency long and the multi-currency blank. And you might say, why did they add them? One, great thing for those of us who are maybe using all of the versions because we want to have multiple templates. You now have two additional templates that you can add in for maybe your multiple lines of business, or maybe you just want different types of statements. We now have two additional ones to go play with. So great. That's exciting. They are also fully Word template compatible. So if you want to have those Word templates to be able to email them out, that works as well. The nice part about here is the multi-currency long. If you remember, the long form previously did not have multi-currency information. So they have added it to it, and it is in the name, and multi-currency blank as well. So I'm going to go ahead and show you what the blank looks like. Very similar to our standard stock one that we see before with blank, but now it has that multi-currency information. As usual, if you want to put it out to a Word template, we can do that for emailing. If you want to make changes to it, we're happy to help you as well with that. I have to say this as a warning. If you ever make changes to your own reports, please take caution. Make sure you have a valid backup of your reports dictionary and make sure you have no one else in your system. And I highly suggest using a local if you are going to make your own changes. If you need help setting up a local dictionary to be able to make those changes before you do them in production, please, I urge you to come contact us because we don't want you to corrupt your dictionaries. It has all kinds of fun results that we don't want you to have. And I did not put it out for superstition that it's going to happen to you. So I'm going to take that back now for my superstitious self because I still work in support. We're a little superstitious over there. All right. For those of us who are emailing inside of receivables and payables, but I'm going to pick on receivables because I feel like I've picked on payables too much, is when you are in this entry screen or a few entry screens, let's talk about our emailing functionality. And I'm just going to go pick on my invoice here, 3048. Okay. If you don't know, you can email out of your SOP window, but if you also need to change the details, not just take the stock email, whatever's there, you have this little email with an edit button beside it. And previously, it used to default every single email address that was associated with that customer or vendor, which you may not have wanted, you know, the accounts receivable plus the sales rep plus all the email information you had in there. Now it's just going to default whatever it is for that particular type. In this case, I have it set to my SOP invoice, but it's not going to pull in my AR, maybe coming from my statements ID or whatever the case may be. As well, if you don't know, if you want to change the message that they have in here, this gives you an opportunity to edit that email before going out. So let's say that this is your customer that's going to break the rule for this. I can update this and say, as per our special terms, and whatever you want to say, you can edit that email before it goes out. And once you hit OK and you hit your email, it will go out to your customer or vendor as you want. But it now remains that it is only going to keep the applicable email and not all of them, because of course that can be a lot if you're got that in there. Okay. Now, one thing I do want to talk about while we are in our sales function here is when we hit print, save, it automatically now defaults to the correct type. If you may remember previously, you had to tick these off and then tell it which one you actually wanted. But if you're trying to print a quote from an invoice, although it would show, it wouldn't allow you to click on it. For those of us who are a little click happy, and I'm in that group, I like that it defaults for me so that I don't try to print things I'm not supposed to and I don't get mad at it saying, why won't you print what I want you to print? It is defaulting for us, which I think is fantastic inside of there. And that is working for both quotes, orders, fulfillment orders, invoices, all that good stuff inside of there. Now, for those of you who may have ever contacted support saying, I can't delete a document because it says that it has been printed, that's actually not because of your, it is because of your printing. It is how your SOP type is set up. And you might say to me, what is a SOP type? Typically, we don't touch our SOP types because they're part of our setup and we probably haven't touched them in many years. But it's actually inside of here that you allow to delete printed documents. So if you're ever wondering why you can't, it's actually inside of your SOP type setup. Okay, a lot of your options are inside of there. So don't worry if you're not going into your SOP type setup. That is a system setup. So if you do have that problem, please take a good, healthy look of what your SOP type set up, because what it was set up as and how you're operating now may not be the same as you have grown or acquired or maybe just changed your process. So I just wanted to make sure that we all had a little bit of an understanding going into that. I know I promised I would pick on receivables a little bit more. There's just one thing about while we're talking about SOP, I can't not talk about POP. And I know it sounds a little bit like a Dr. Seuss book when I say SOP and POP. It's not. It stands for sales order processing or purchase order processing in this case. For those of us who live inside this purchase order entry window, we've gotten really good at it. I'm going to be honest. I have been very jealous of some people who've gotten very good at this window when I have been on some support calls, and I think, wow, you navigate through this window like a champ. Previously, you always had to right click to delete this row, and then it always kind of gave you some fun error messages. Now, if you're highlighted in this row, you actually have this delete row button, and it deletes a lot nicer than it previously did when you just removed the row. When it deletes the row, you may have noticed in previous versions there has been bugs where you try to delete it, it says no you can't, or it leaves it there, some pieces of it in some of your maybe custom views or reports. Now with this delete row button, one, it's a lot easier for navigation, and two, it does a very good job of deleting the whole pop line while you're in there. Now, I will say if you have received anything against this line, it will not let you delete it, but that is part of its functionality, that you can't delete something that you have already received because you have put a transaction against it, which makes sense, right? I think it makes sense. I think it totally makes sense. I'm going to bounce back to SOP one last time, and this exists inside of POP as well, but I want to make sure that we did see it, is inside of our sales documents. And if you've ever had to look back at how did this invoice get to be an invoice, that's a great question. Inside of our invoice, if you use this little blue expansion arrow next to your document number, you'll see that it came from an order, or maybe it had from quote to order to invoice, whatever the case may be. You used to have to scribble down this number or try and copy and paste it and go into another window and put in there. They have finally given us a hyperlink so that it will open up the order or the quote or whatever you're looking to do to make sure that you can go see what is there. Maybe they don't trust me to find a pen anymore. I don't know. I wouldn't trust me either. So I definitely like that they've added that hyperlink functionality, which is true to GP's lovability, is that it has those hyperlinks that let you go backwards and forwards as many times as you want. And I like that once I'm in the order, I can do the same thing. I can go back to my invoice and say, go show me the invoice. And I can go back and forth as I've always thought that I should have been able to do. We can go back and forth. While we're talking about sales invoices and payables, we may be using corporate credit cards to pay them. And they might actually be set up as a bank account. And I'm going to show you where that setup is in our credit card section here. And I'm just going to pick up my card. If you have this set to a bank card here, it previously did not allow multi-currency information to come through. So we may have not set it up as a card. We may have set it up as a bank account to allow you to have proper multi-currency. So if your functional currency was CAD and you had a US credit card, or maybe in reverse, you were not able to post those multi-currency transactions to see them in the bank rec or to see them in the bank inquiry windows. Now, if your bank card as a credit card is set up and it is multi-currency, it has full multi-currency availability inside of the bank reconciliation window and our checkbook registry window. This window is often not used. And if we look here in our checkbook register, I'm going to pick on my up-down trust. This actually shows every transaction that has gone in and out of a corporate credit card or bank account. This gives us for all of our checkbooks what's in there. And of course, we can drill down and see what was in there. Previously, you did not have a view button in here that allows you to go to currency, functional, or originating. And for those of us who may not know this, this view button is in almost every transactional window inside of GP so that you can make sure you see it as the functional currency or the originating currency back and forth. As a helpful hand, if you are using US and Canadian currency back and forth, sometimes it's hard to tell because it just has a dollar sign. This is a helping hand that I like to do in our currency setup. Now, please contact your system administrator to do this, is that inside your currency, I always like to maybe give this a U-dollar sign so that we know that it's US, or a C-dollar sign, or some side of differentiation to make sure that we know we're talking about Canadian dollars or US dollars. Now, obviously, this is easier sometimes when the symbol is different. We're talking about euros or GBP, where we can change that symbol to be in there. But especially between US and Canadian dollars, it's sometimes hard to tell. I mean, it's gotten easier with the exchange, but still, I don't always like to do the mental math. So I like to use that differentiator. This is not a new feature, but it is a helpful hand, and you can change it anytime. If you change it and you decide, I don't like seeing the U, it's awful, don't do that to me, or the C, you can go and change it at any time. No harm, no foul. It's just the display function of this. Okay. One last thing to talk about is navigation lists. Navigation lists did come out in GP 2013. They have continually added to them as they've gone on. So if you have upgraded your version of GP, you might actually see more of these navigation lists. And I'm going to show you the first navigation list being sales order transactions. It's been here for a long time, but it does allow you to do some great things like print documents in mass. So if you want to print all your invoices you had from the night before, or the day before you're closing, you can mass print them or email from your navigation list. And one of the nice new features that they've added to us is that they gave us this one called sales order batches. Super handy if you are having your batches be imported in from another system, is that you can mass post based off of a filter. And I'm going to kind of show you what that looks like. I'm going to put where begins with SE. So SE could be my system outside of GP. You can see that I have 4 batches. Instead of going in and posting them 4 times, I can now select them all and hit post, go get coffee and come back, and it'll all be posted. And I won't have to have had carpal tunnel and hit post, 5 times. This is really handy if you are having those batches be imported and you might have 10 or 20 batches coming in a day or a month and you're not looking to go through each individual one, but you do know that it has a naming convention that you can put your filter around to help get you that, because you might still have some manual batches as well. So if I get rid of that filter, you can see that I still have all my normal batches that I would have in here, but I only want to pick on my batches that have that naming convention to it. So maybe begins with or contains or all those filters we've known to learn to love during our time inside of GP. So since we're talking about posting as a whole, I did want to make one last thing, just that one thing that people may have used GP for a long, long time and didn't know about posting. And to kind of end our finale here with posting, because that's how we end every transaction, is that when you post, it actually goes in a very specific order backwards. And sometimes this is always good information to know if you've had a batch that may have gone to batch recovery, or you think that it didn't post correctly. There's a couple places you should always check when a batch goes to batch recovery because of how it posts. Your batch recovery is up here. And if you've ever come in here, selected your batch and gone to process, sometimes it'll post, sometimes it comes back and you got to take a look what's there. Always double check that it is or is not in the GL. Make sure that it is in there. Make sure it is in any subledger that it may have started from, being cash, receivables, payables, inventory, whatever the case may be. Because when GP posts, it posts in a very specific order. First things first, if it has inventory, it consumes inventory first, or puts inventory in, depending which way we're going here. Next thing it does is it goes to the subledger, so that is sales or purchasing. And if it is SOP or POP, it is going to go to those subledgers first. Then it goes to our AP and our AR subledgers where it says, okay, this vendor or this customer we owe or they owe us. Then it creates our journal entries, and the last thing it creates is any bank transactions that it may need to do for that. So keep that in mind if you are troubleshooting any of your batches. I really hope you don't have any batches that go sideways, but as we all know, they come across us every once in a while. Double check all those places. If you're stuck, please come contact us in support. We love dealing with batches. We're here to help you with those, but we want to make sure that you have as many tools to enable yourself as well. And as for any good transaction, we finish it with posting. I'm going to finish today's series with posting as well. And I'm going to open it back up to Scott. And I think if you stick around, he's going to open it up to the floor for some questions as well.
Yes, ma'am.
Right. I'm going to let you take over my screen there, Scott.
Here we go. Thank you. Thank you, Brittany. Fireworks. Ta-da!
Thanks, Chris.
That was great, and we will have a copy of today's webinar on our GP What's New page. What is GP What's New page? For those that are attending live today, one of the cool things about Microsoft Teams and holding a webinar is you can click on any one of these links and it will open up on your computer. So the GP What's New is the one right in the middle there in bold, and we will put today's recording up on there. Give us a few days. Brittany mentioned earlier GP EFT tracker, and if you have EFT issues, really cool little app that we built that will provide additional audit trail type stuff so you can further secure anyone with sticky fingers making errors or otherwise sending funds to the wrong bank accounts. There's GP documentation, lots of stuff by Microsoft on learn.microsoft.com. 90% of it is correct. We're hoping it'll get closer to 100%. It may or may not disappear after end of life. We're working on ways to deal with that, and actually a nice lead up into our next slide. Last link at the very bottom, we have a 6 tips white paper that our company, that many of our consultants contributed to. It's now been a few years ago, but continue to be upgraded. Great ideas for digital transformation while staying on Dynamics GP. So if you're looking to buy some time, looking to extend GP up until 2029, looking to use GP past 2029, obviously we're here and lots of great ideas, mentorship, training, advice from the GP support desk, Brittany and others. GP Revolution. This is a new concept that we have. We're trying to plan and prepare for what is life like after GP end of life. Come join the GP Revolution. We're working with a number of third-party ISVs to obtain commitments, access to them. There may be access to payroll after end of life. There will be additional upgrades and making sure that nothing breaks and get some of those commitments. Some of the fun ones here, use is AP automation. They came from a non-GP world, have a strong GP connector that we have looked at and validated, and can connect AP automation into GP and surround that with cloud-based applications. That's a tool that you can bring with you if you do change down the road. Similar to Vivid Reports, great history in Dynamics GP and using a cloud-based database on Azure in Canada or in the US. And again, you can bring that with you. E1 Smart Connect and Smart List and their new Pop Doc, many of those aspects. You can see other logos here. We're trying to build more of this community for hashtag GP Forever. So come join the GP Revolution. We'll have more information on that as this community starts to further evolve. For those that do want to talk to Jerry on our team, you can click right here and email him. Thank you, Stacy. We get funds from Microsoft and can do some deeper dive assessments for you at no charge and help you quantify what is the cost, what is the effort to move to Business Central. Obviously, the Business Central team wants you to move, and our GP team wants you to stay. It's up to you. When you are ready, when you have the information, make informed decisions, and obviously, Endeavor is here to support you. For those that are new to us, we're continuing to grow. We're now 170 people across Canada and the U.S., 1,200 active clients, 650 which are still on Dynamics GP and running strong. We are obviously here to help, continue to win awards, and all in the interest of you, our clients, to help you get the most out of your applications. We used to have 3 buckets. Now we have 4 buckets with the Endeavor 4 branding. A lot of enterprise work, and we have team that are dealing with finance and operations and supply chain, and then the mid-market and SMB, which continues to be Business Central and Dynamics GP. Very strong CRM practice with Power Platform, Power Apps, Power Portal, Power BI, all the Power Platform components, virtual agents, Copilot and AI, we have a whole emerging team that's doing a lot of services for that. So we're here to help you get the most out of your systems and our 4 core values: knowledge, integrity, trust, and accountability. Thank you, Brittany, for living those, as well as the rest of our consultants. As I mentioned, we got all the certifications you would want. And my last 2 slides, GP Support North. We created this brand for you. We created this brand to say it's a safe haven to stay on GP. Our support desk is here to support you. Right there on the homepage is that white paper I mentioned earlier. Just click on it. You don't have to give out your information. Obviously, we already know who you are, but if you have friends, if you have family, if you have colleagues, any new hires, feel free to share our website. We're always looking for new clients and new people to assist and share our information to support the GP community. If you go on to the endeavor4solutions.com website, very similar to our past websites, GP is now under that mid-market and SMB, just so it's not confused as much with the finance and operations and on the enterprise side. Obviously, you still see the logo there of GP and moving it up to Business Central, and we love you. Obviously, we're here to help. So we have 3 minutes left in the hour. We can stay a little bit over time if you want to ask a few questions through the chat. Brittany is here at your disposal for some of her time. Thank you very much, everyone, and I hope you enjoyed today's presentation.
Yes, thank you. Is there any questions out on the floor for GP? And we can kind of go in any direction at GP. I love all the modules. Can we identify who closed a PO? Yes, you can.
You want to take over the screen, Brittany? Or talk to it?
No, I'm going to take over. You know me, I got to show. Okay.
Of course, that's why we're here.
If you are looking by default and you have POs, no, it does not show you who closed the PO, not even on the tables itself. And I'll kind of open up the hood a little bit for this question. And I know that sounds, but if you do enable workflow, workflow does put in who closed it, and you can have workflow on your purchase orders. So you can set it up so you can track it inside of there, or I'm just going to kind of show you what it looks like under the hood. For those of you who don't know, oops, I typed in my own password wrong. That's good.
Good thing there's stars. That's the secret passwords.
All right. When we are
Thank you for the shout out, Lisa.
If you haven't gone in here before, this is kind of more to the hood. GP is fully powered by SQL, which is, if you picture like 10,000 Excel spreadsheets linked together, this is the database, and it does hold all the information in there. So if you're actually looking for that information, you might notice it's not on the PO line, which is PO P10200. It is actually not a field on there who closed it. So one of the ways we can get around that is who actually did it with workflow. Otherwise, the only information you have is user who entered and modified date and created date. But the user who entered may not be the person who last modified it. So I would always say, if you're looking to go down into that detail, turn on your workflow. Workflow, even if you have very low approvals, start basic, add on to it, because it captures so much more information when you have workflow turned on. Okay? What is the next question here? We have, what is involved in upgrading from 18.4 to current? Great question. We always like to make sure that we have everything involved in what you might be upgrading, because GP has been around on the market for a long time, which also means people usually have ISVs in there as well. Those are like our E1s, our binary streams, our many partners. We want to make sure that those upgrades with you as well. So please send us an email. 18.4 to current is not as big of a upgrade process as we've seen before. Maybe if you went from 2013 to 2015. But we do want to make sure we have all service packs involved for any ISVs that are going to be in there as well, and make sure you test everything. But feel free to reach out to us. It's not as big an upgrade as we've seen in prior versions, but we want to make sure that we have all those ISVs in there as well, because some of those ISVs are very sensitive to changes in the versions of GP. I would name them out, but I feel like I'd be calling them out in a group panel setting here. So please send it in and let us know what ISVs you have. And if you want to quickly know what ISVs you do have, come into your Microsoft Dynamics, go to your Customize, and go to Customization Status. This will have absolutely everything you have installed in here, and you will get a good picture of whether or not you have a vanilla install of GP or you have additional ISVs, because that is the first place we're going to tell you to go look. And if you can send us a screen grab of this window, you will get extra bonus points from our upgrade team.
Thanks, Brittany. And obviously we have a fair bit of information on the GP Support North website, some past webinars on upgrades. There's a little search up in the top right. If you type in your version, especially if it's one of the older ones, there's a little bit more of a commentary on those big hops and smaller leaps compared to the more recent ones, such as, as you said, an easier upgrade. There's a variety of compliance that our team will ask you questions on to make sure that we don't get in trouble with your IT team, and obviously do all the right backups, recoveries. Sometimes there's tests, lots of things to consider in doing it right and doing it safe. Tom asked about the window that you're showing right now, the customization status. Can you just go on that? That was under one of your settings.
I actually just put in the how to get there, so if you want to copy and paste that out of our chat, that'll help you out for later.
Fantastic. Thanks, Brittany.
Don't have to grab it in here.
Any other magical inquiries out there? Even if you know the answer, maybe it's going to benefit others on the line, or a genuine question.
I think they're too shy now.
Okay. Brittany, as people are using GP right now, potentially still using it for the next 3 years, potentially using it for 3 years or 10 years past that, there's new cloud applications out there. A desire to integrate your core ERP into many of these broader applications. What are some of the processes for doing integrations? Obviously call support and get a quote, but like at a high level, is it easier now? Is it harder? Is it the same? If people didn't integrate in the last 5 years, is now the time to do an integration?
We notice this a lot happening. This is a very big pattern that is happening, not just in the GP world, but in the mid-market world altogether for ERPs. This is a trend where there are a lot of specialized softwares out there, especially for the APs, the ARs, the workflows inside of there to sit outside of GP, and for those mid-market ERPs to kind of come along. This is, many of those providers are providing connector tools into products like GP, which is great. And what people may not know is GP was created before APIs became very popular in the last 5 to 8 years. So GP has a full suite of what we call eConnect, which is a set of SQL procedures that make sure your business logic stays intact, right? So that your vendor exists, your debits aren't bigger than your credits, all that good accounting logic that we need to have there. You can use these, of course, with many of the transactions inside of GP. You can call them with multiple different products out there, right? We have the custom connectors that come with those products out there that are calling those eConnect procedures. We also have tools like Smart Connect. There's many integration tools out there in GP, and there actually is more integrations tools out there now than what we've seen in prior to past. So yes, it has gotten easier. But I will say, if you are vetting any of those options, knowledge is the most powerful thing you can have, and always make sure you ask, are they calling eConnect procedures? Because that is what's going to make sure that you are sticking to the core business logic that we have known and grown and learned to love inside of GP. And the reason we wanted to stay there is because, of course, any good accounting principle means apples to apples. We want everything to post and be posted in there the same way we always have. With GP Revolution, can we potentially still use GP to 2035? That is Scott's pledge. That's kidding. I'm kidding. It is actually all of our pledge. We have a very experienced team of, I like to call us GPers. We have been in that market, most of us 20-something years. We don't like to admit it, but we are here to support you in whatever that journey may look like for you for GP, whether that is 1 year or 8 years on the horizon. If you do have questions about what your roadmap specifically looks like for GP and can you continue keeping your GP the way it is, please feel free to reach out to us. Scott does have some contacts, but Jerry on our team as well is a good person to help you out with that too. Or contact Trish. Trish has good access to those resources to make sure that you can have an assessment to see what does looking like staying on GP look like. Are you on a current enough version to stay on GP? Have you insulated that enough? And all of those good questions. Okay, so yes, you can, but make sure that you have all your I's dotted and your T's crossed because I have to. Is it necessary to upgrade to the new version if we're already on 18.4? Nope, not right now. You can stay on 18.4 for a little bit longer. You don't have to. I have 18.8, which actually just came out 3 weeks ago, right, Scott? 4 weeks ago?
It's continual upgrades. October 1st of each year is the official first release of each new version, and then there's these micro releases. The Microsoft documentation is officially 3 per year. So there's a year end, there's a mid-year, and then that October release. But then there's also sub points, so 18.8, 0.1, 0.2, 0.3. So it's actually a 5-digit number of unique versions. And that's for the technical people behind the scenes to make sure that they have the compatibility and they know exactly which pieces are where. Typically, we wait till the new year, January, February, before going all the way up to the latest version. It just allows a few others to work out the bugs of usually around the ISVs. It's not bugs, it's just compatibility and giving them enough time to do their testing. Plus our team that for those that have Canadian payroll or US payroll, there's a mad dash at the end of the year because the tax updates aren't done until early December. So those that are on payroll through GP suck up everyone's capacity over the holidays.
But to answer your question, Paulina, you can stay on 18.4 for a little bit to come. You don't have to go to 18.8. You are still well within your version. You are good to go.
If you are looking for infrastructure changes, so you want to move to a new version of SQL Server, or there's other compatibility things, that may be a trigger. If your hardware, the physical hardware that you have is aging, or if you're using a third-party data center and they're suggesting some changes in versions, that might also be a trigger. We have cloud hosting providers that can use multiple different versions of Windows and SQL Server to support some of the older ones without doing an upgrade, or as may needed, you can do an upgrade just about any time. The longer you wait, the larger the hop.
Yeah. So what Scott is sorry, Scott, I'm going to hop in here with some technical details here.
Please do, because you got the important stuff.
Just one thing, on our support desk, we support all versions of GP. Okay, I'm going to be honest, I've had some support calls where I have supported some versions that I haven't seen in 20 years. So we are here for you no matter what. But let's talk about if you let that version go for a longer period of time. What Scott is talking about is what we call two-step upgrade. And this was actually very common when you went from GP 2013 to 2017 or 2018, because there was substantial changes. We couldn't just go from one to another. We would go from 2013 to 2015 and then bring you from 2015 to 2018. That still sometimes exists when we do two-step versions, depending where you're going from and to. The reason we do two-step upgrade is to ensure that we keep your data integrity. We ensure that those tables add the additional fields and the extra information and the additional dependencies on the table. We make sure that that stays in place, and then we layer on the additional ones. It is there for your protection and the data protection as well, because let's be honest, in this group, data is king. It is what rules my life sometimes, I feel like.
I'm bringing back the fireworks. Thank you, Brittany. I think we're just about out of time. Last question, because I know that popped up right away, and then we'll wrap this up. Obviously, we're here to provide additional support to you. Anytime, contact the support desk. We have a variety of support plans. Some are break-fix based. Others are prepaying or paying just for ongoing support, questions, answers, training, mentorship, strategy. All lines point to helping you get the most out of your systems. So we're here. Did you understand that last question that popped through right under the wire, Brittany?
Oh, sorry, I did not see it. My apologies. Felicia, just to be clear, 18.4 to 36. Yes, but there are some caveats. So, Felicia, I will send you some additional information after this session as well to answer that question and make sure you have all your I's dotted and T's crossed with some official documentation from Microsoft.
Great. With that said, thank you very much, everyone. Have a wonderful day, and look forward to seeing you at our next webinar.
Thanks, everyone.